In 1947, a course opened in West Palm Beach, Florida, that would help define a new era of municipal golf in post-war America. Designed by Dick Wilson, one of the most influential architects of the 1950s and 60s, West Palm Beach Golf Course introduced generations of daily fee golfers to the game while providing a buffer of nature against the frenetic growth of South Florida. 75 years later, West Palm Beach has been reborn as The Park, a reimagined municipal golf avatar of golf and recreation for the next century. Architects Gil Hanse and Jim Wagner, along with colleague Dirk Ziff, completely remodeled and rerouted the course, molding the sandy, rolling terrain into an adventurous excursion of highly playable holes that allows for aggressive driving, a thriving ground game, and cleverly contoured greens. At its best, municipal golf has always been a conduit that connects the surrounding community to the game. The park is once again at the center of the West Palm Beach community and the broader community of public golfers as a whole. As its motto, Open Golf, suggests, everyone is welcome and everyone can play. This is every hole at the Park, West Palm. The fairway at the park's opening par 5 is a welcome sight, a broad swath of green that plays straight toward a solitary live oak aiming point with room on the right into the adjoining 18th to catch cold slices. Only the flagstick is visible on the approach through a saddle between a grassy knoll and a raised bunker face. This is the first optical trick of the park. There's over 60 yards of rumpled terrain beyond the saddle, and balls that land on the backside of the bunker can kick forward onto or near the broad St. Andrew-style plateau green with the steep Valley of Sin protecting the front left. The modest par 4 second is a true architect's hole. Nothing previously in the ground would indicate that it might become one of the course's most interesting cerebral holes. The sight lines are a bunker left and a bubbling swath of fairway on the right that seems to beckon a safe drive, but being prudent means hitting an approach shot across the shallow axis of a low, thin green oriented to the left. The putting surface is a fascinating concoction of alternating outer knobs that form a sine wave trough through the center of the 60-yard deep green, creating distinct hole locations, with the tiny rear pocket being the most extracting of them all. The view from the third tee is another illusion, as the raised green on the par 3 appears relatively flat and matter-of-fact, posed simply against an ordinary backdrop. You think you have it summed up. Hit the yardage, avoid the flanking bunkers. But it's only upon the approach that the multi-dimensional putting surface expands into its full form, the front section extending more toward the tee than is visible. This is Hanse and Wagner's take on a double plateau green, with a sprinkle of a Biarritz mixed in, and the 3 distinct levels conspire to make club selection and lag putting as critical to scoring as any hole on the course. The park's first 9 canvases the mostly level terrain of the eastern half of the property, and the architectural team enlivened the aesthetics of these holes by making the site's sand and scrub buffers and small created dune ridges part of the story. The sand formation set up a right-to-left, left-to-right shot pattern on the long par 4 fourth, but even if drives don't travel far enough down the left side alley to unlock a clean view of the target, know that long semi-blind shots played over the top of the bunker on the right will find nothing but short grass surrounding the relatively level green, over an acre of closely cropped fairway, allowing for all variety of recovery options. Turned almost due east, the seasonal winds can have a major impact on the playability of the 227-yard par 3 fifth. The design is set up to accommodate such unpredictability, with tight turf running all the way to the open-fronted green, so a running shot is often the best play, whether hitting metal woods or even driver into the stiff winds coming off the ocean, or to get a ball down when the wind is behind. Like the third, a swale sloping right to left dominates the center of the putting surface, and hole locations along the back edge through the depression are the most challenging to access, though rear contours will help hold a skidding ball on the upper level. The short par 4 has become an oft-used calling card for contemporary architects, and Hanse and Wagner have designed some of the game's most intriguing versions, including the 6th at the park. Hole locations on the 2-level green should dictate how drives are played. If the flag is on the upper tier, a drive as far as possible down the spacious right side of the hole is ideal to leave a short, unencumbered pitch. When it's low left, good players can sling tee shots off the central fairway mound to get the ball tumbling toward a valley short of the green, which sits in a hollow and is the first indication that more interesting topography lies ahead. The third par 3 in the first 7 holes is the most penal. Usually playing in a crosswind, it's modeled after a redan, with elevated front and left sections flared up to funnel balls toward the rear of the green. A deep bunker on the right will capture short shots, and 2 more vicious bunkers hidden through the putting surface offer an even worse fate. The green complex repels balls in all directions, so the smart play is to try to place a shot on the front of the green or even short of it and attempt a 2-putt for par. The 8th hole is best described as a space eater as it works back eastward along the southern boundary over mostly neutral terrain. That doesn't mean it's devoid of strategy. A dune ridge of trees and sand defines the high side of the hole, making the enormous expanse of fairway on the left look particularly inviting. The best strategy, however, is to keep a drive as far right as possible so the 2 cross bunkers short of the green don't have to be carried on the approach, a formidable task into the frequent headwinds. This is another large, though modestly contoured, low-to-the-ground green that happily accepts a bouncing ball, and a 4 here is always a good score. The first 9 closes the way it opened with a par 5, though this one demands advanced planning due to bunkers that slash into the fairway on either side. Bombers can take the risky but direct line down the right by carrying the first set of bunkers, then attack another set 60 yards short of the green. The hazards keep pushing shorter hitters to the left, but eventually they'll need to find a way to tack back toward the trouble on the right side if they want to access the direct line into the guts of the triangular putting surface, and avoid hitting across the surrounding barrier of bunkers that guard the green's left flank. The routing of the park saves the most exciting landforms for the second 9, first encountered at the par 4 10th. Tee shots placed at the crest of the fairway at this dogleg right will face a downhill approach, often from a hanging lie. The wide green occupies an attractive grove with a well-protected hole location on the left and more vulnerable flags on the right. As with most holes here, there's ample short grass around the green, so players who are out of position on the drive can aim for the bailout areas and utilize the short game options to try to get up and down. The par 3 11th, set in a glade surrounded by sand, flashed bunkers, scrub oak, palmettos, and sable palms, is an American cousin to the sandbelt courses of Australia. The green is a technical achievement, layered into a ridge with cascading levels that appear fluid rather than rigid. Intersecting shoulders can serve as backstops for certain hole locations, but balls that settle on the incorrect level will require perfectly paced putts rolling up and down over the sizable ridges. A gorgeous hole, the 11th sets the tone for one of the most memorable second 9 runs in Florida public golf. The par 4 12th offers an abundance of room to the right of the fairway, but drives that hug the bunkers on the inside corner can cut as much as 30 yards off the approach. The hole climbs uphill and left toward a punch bowl green complex where only the top of the flag is visible, and longer incoming shots from the lower right side of the fairway should aim at the tall rake of the tie-dyed caveman who stands watching from behind the putting surface, a nod to Gil Hanse's love of the Grateful Dead, and the name of Jim Wagner's shaping crew. Any shot that makes it over the front formation of the punch bowl has a chance of ricocheting close to the hole. In case it's not obvious by now, the park's architecture consistently rewards drives that attack the high ground and challenge hazards. Those who can carry the sand at the apex of the par 4 13th will have a shorter level look at the green. Those who can't are looking at a longer uphill shot across a pair of bunkers from the lower part of the fairway, and approaches that don't make it all the way onto the gently crowned putting surface will drift 10 or 15 yards down to the right. The 13th is a study in degrees where even slight miscalculations on the tee shot or around the edges of the green don't penalize players as much as put them in awkward situations and stances. It may seem strange that a 471-yard par 4 can feel like a respite, but the wide fairway and slightly downhill drive at 14 offer an opportunity to swing freely without having to tactically place the tee shot. The greens at the park illustrate how architectural trends have evolved. Dick Wilson's original greens on this site were propped up and often blocked in front or pinched by bunkers to challenge the modern post-war aerial game. Playability and variety are more in vogue today, so greens like the large fragmented 14th that lay at fairway grade are more accessible, and long uphill approaches that don't make the putting surface result in manageable putts, bumps, and pitches, even for high handicap golfers. It may be hard to make a par, but a 5 is well within reason, even on this long par 4. Running along the park's western edge near I-95, the 15th is a unique par 4.5 of just 494 yards that rises toward a skinny green hidden behind a ridgeline and cocked at a 30-degree angle. Good drives to a massive fairway set up an interesting decision. Fire a shot at the flag flapping over the top of the high cross bunker, lay back short of the same bunker to play an obscured wedge shot third from a poor angle, or hit a long club over the second bunker on the right to leave a simple pitch into the length of the green. The 15th is a wonderfully complex, original hole where virtually any score can be made, exactly what you want coming down the stretch of a match. Number 16 at the park is similar to other short par 4s that Hans and Wagner have built, including the 16th at Pinehurst number 4, Uhupi Match Club's 14th hole, and the 15th at Ladera. The concept is the same. Drives attempting to reach the green must be able to hold elevated putting surfaces that are deep, narrow, angled, and fall away on multiple sides. At the park, the tee shot is uphill and blind, challenged by typical cross and headwinds, but as long as the drive can clear the edge of the fairway bunker on the left, there's no reason not to take a shot since the greenside recoveries are straightforward, at least compared to other versions of this hole. The park's final par 3 is its most visually intimidating due to a 9-foot deep gorge of sand that wraps from the front of the green to the large banyan tree behind. The putting surface appears to hover over the bunker like a floating island, and when the hole is cut on the left, there appears nowhere to land the ball. The front right is accessible and there's plenty of fairway wide of that, but bailing out this late in the round probably feels entirely unsatisfactory. You'll have to ask yourself, is this one of those occasionally terrifying moments where you simply have to step up and hit the shot? After the rush of holes from 11 to 17, the wide level par 5 18th provides a smooth landing, like a cruise ship coming into port. It pairs thematically with its neighbor, the first hole, transitioning out of the round, and also presents the chance to finish with a par or birdie. It's critical, however, to place the second shot accordingly, avoiding the bracketing bunkers and favoring the left side of the fairway. The convex left-to-right angled green will repel errant shots, so take plenty of club to avoid the embarrassment of scrambling back and forth under the watchful gaze of onlookers on the clubhouse patio. Public golf comes in all shapes and sizes, but in few other places does it achieve the enticement or architectural sophistication of the park. The park feels both old and new, a convenient, easily walkable course where it's almost impossible to lose the ball, with a design that's elusive rather than difficult, changing with different winds, and greens that assume you're in the mood for fun. In a time defined by premium luxury private clubs located in faraway landscapes, the park is refreshingly public and available. Its message is different. This is open golf, and you're invited.